Yeah, that's a good song. I wasn't sure what he was going to play, so I worried it was going to be like Wild Woman or something. So as Scott mentioned, we do brand management, and a big part of that is social media. And so if all of you would just stand up for me real quick, we're going to take a group selfie for Dr. Nels' social media. I'm serious. Everyone stand up, stretch your legs. All right. Okay, everybody, get in the picture with me. All right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good job. You can sit back down. I'm just kidding, stand back up. We're actually gonna do a quick little activity. I have an exercise. We're gonna test your abilities. Stand back up with me. So before we decide, I'm gonna impart a few ideas for you on how to do things better with your Google business listing. But first, I wanna quiz you on what you're already doing. So the reward is you get to sit down if you are in the cream of the crop of this group. So sit down if you currently have a process in place for requesting Google reviews from your customers. 3 people. Oh man, you guys are going to get a lot out of this. Okay, sit down if you already have claimed your listing and at least have updated it ever. All right, pretty good, pretty good. All right, sit down if you know how to send a link to your Google listing. Have you ever gotten your own custom link yet? All right, the rest of you that are standing, this is basically for you. So everyone look around, guilt them into writing these things down. And so today, the idea that I want you to leave with is how to better manage your Google business listing, how to use it to stand out online against your competitors, and ultimately play into what Martha talked about, which is using Google to essentially help reinforce the culture that you're creating in other places. So there is a little handout in your packet that looks like this. If you would pull that out, this is actually a follow-along worksheet, so there are no excuses on Monday that you don't remember what we talked about because it's right here. And the other thing that I think is important for you to know is that assuming all the other speakers are okay with it, I think we're planning to email out a link to a folder where you can download PDF versions of all the presentations. So I don't know about you, but during Jason's, I was trying to scribble down notes and I couldn't quite catch it all. And so I think if they're all okay with it, we'll provide copies of all those PowerPoints for you afterwards, including mine. So first of all, it's important to understand how people find you online. You can't stand out if you're not sure what they're looking for. And so how many of you have do any research? If you're going to make a purchase or if you're looking for a vendor for something, how many of you still look up in the phone book? Okay, I was going to say, you're not. I'm glad you're all too chicken to raise your hand because we'd make fun of you. So how many of you are you ask your friends and neighbors? It's okay to raise your hand. That's still probably never going to go away. And then how many of you get out your phone and you say, hey, Siri, tell me where there's a pub with craft beer near me? That's, I think, most of us. Or, you know, what daycare centers are near me or what's a good place to take my kids on the weekend. So anymore, people search for things in Google in sentences. We don't just search veterinarian. We search veterinarian near me. And then what happens? I'll give you bonus points. I have a free gift for you if you can answer this question. What happens after you've done the Google search? From there, you're looking at the results. How do we decide which one to click on? Ratings, correct. So it's not just how many reviews, but also what rating they have been given. How many of you give Google reviews to other companies? Okay, about a third. That's about right. Typically, reviews come from 2 kinds of people. You will get reviews from your most loyal, the kindest, most amazing customers, but those are not very many. Most of the people who leave Google reviews are actually typically the critics. And they don't represent a good percentage of your customers, but they are the most vocal. And so what we want to do today is help you have some tools so that those people are not dictating what your brand says about you online. Even though you might have the most amazing website, you might have the most amazing customer loyalty, you might have the coolest videos of customers vouching for how legit you are, but they're not going to see that if you're rated 2 on your Google listing. So we'll dive right in. So understanding how people find you, it mentioned the full sentences, but they're either going to search for your company by name. Oh, I'm supposed to do that. I was waiting for the slides to advance. That's my job, sorry. That's about me. Maybe, where am I pointing this, by the way, Steve-O? Okay, good. All right. All right. So they're either searching for your company by name or they're searching for a product or a service in your area. So Google is obviously one of the most sophisticated algorithms in the world. Facebook's probably not far behind, but when people search for you, Google knows where you are based on your IP address, and it's automatically going to somewhat filter those results based on where you're at physically. But it's also going to go off of what they put in that search bar. So if they say, I'm looking for a beach condo in Tampa, it's not going to show me beach condos near Great Bend, Kansas. It's going to show me condos near Tampa. So it's important that you understand this. These screenshots are going to be a little hard to see, and I apologize. There's not a great way to do this, but they will be in that PDF that you'll get after the fact. So this is an example of what shows up. If I'm searching for a company by name, Google will probably automatically suggest the business it thinks you're talking about. And it'll show you right there on the sidebar, sort of a preview of that business listing, what they look like, their contact information, that kind of thing. It also shows how many reviews they have and what their Google rating is. If they're searching for a product, so let's say someone searches website designer near me, this is what it looks like. It shows more of a listing of different vendors that are available. And this is more important for the Google reviews piece of that because it's basically comparing you automatically, and in a snap judgment, they're gonna look at who's listed at the top and then how do they stack up with the next couple underneath them. So since you guys are super intelligent based on your previous answers, how do you think you become first in this list of results? What's that? I'm deaf. Most hits, you're close. Better reviews, not quite. We're getting close. Combine those two answers. Yes, the most activity on your listing. And the best way to influence that is how many reviews you have. So even if they're bad, they actually still help you show up higher on the listing. But that's bad if people see that you have a bad review. So what we want to do is we want to get a lot of reviews, and we want to get ideally really good ones. So the first thing you have to do is you have to claim your Google business listing. So for those cream of the crop that have already done that, kudos. For those that haven't, these slides will be very important. There's a link right here, this business.google.com. That is the first place you're going to want to start. If you have not yet claimed your listing, or if you're not sure if you've claimed your listing, go to this website. You can type in your business name, and it will tell you this listing has already been claimed, or you can walk through the steps of claiming that, and it's definitely not very hard. So the other option is you can just search for your business, and if you have not yet claimed it, down at the bottom, it will say claim this listing, and you can click that link and follow that. So once you are logged in to your Google account and you're at business.google.com, you'll be asked to log in, and this is what you'll see. Obviously, we've got lots of listings. If you didn't, it would be blank, and the button add a location would be where you would start. So if you're searching for an existing listing, this is kind of what that screen would look like. You could type in the name of your business. If you are opening a brand new business, it may not pop up any results, and you may have to just fill in all the information. This is an example of what you would see if you searched for your business and no one in your team has claimed your listing before. You would click on that button that says own your business or own this business, and you would follow the steps. So a few things to keep in mind. When you first claim your listing, it'll ask you tons of questions, and then you go Google yourself, and it's like, well, I just filled out all this information. Why is it not there? None of that will show up until your listing has been verified. So verification is really important. We're going to talk about that in a second. The other thing that's interesting to keep in mind as you decide what categories you assign yourself to, do I put my address or not, especially if you're a service-based business where maybe you base out of your home, it can be tempting to not want to put your address on there. The downside of that is that Google will not let you create a custom review link that we're going to talk about in a minute unless you have a physical location. So if you're wary about having a physical location, it might be a good idea to find a business incubator or somewhere where you can get your mail that creates a physical presence for you somewhere so that you can take advantage of the things we're going to talk about in a little bit. Also very important, this might seem obvious, but definitely try as hard as you can not to make mistakes, especially early on in this process, because Google is very unforgiving. And if you were to put in the wrong PO box number or the wrong street address, your postcard will never arrive to you, which means you will not verify your listing. And it's very difficult to recover that after that point. So be consistent. If your business is listed on your tax documents one way, but it's listed on all your social media, all your print materials, your public facing information as another way, what LLC you are is not relevant. So you need to have your Google business listing title match the way that you present yourself to the world everywhere else. Also, we obviously want your Google listing to look good. We want everything to look good, but also we want it to work well. And so as you complete the different questions that they ask you, keep in mind the types of phrases that your customers are looking for. Try to incorporate as many of those as you can into the text of that listing. Also, you can add multiple categories. So I'm going to use my friend Jeremy as an example. He owns a company that is growing rapidly and they're constantly diversifying. And so, people may think of them as, oh, well, they plant new lawns. That's what they do. But they also do, they're a tree maintenance service, and maybe they do sprinkler consulting, and maybe they do 10 other things. And so he would want to list that in all of those categories so that someone searching for that would be it would be easy for them to find that. So from there, we're going to want to verify your listing. You're going to want to do this quickly because, like I said, a lot of those features that display to the public are not enabled until you've been verified. So this is a higher priority at the beginning. When you do this, and I can't explain why, someone probably much smarter than me could tell you why this is, but Google does not give the same verification options to everyone. I think a lot of it has to do with what category you're in, how long your business has been around. I'm not really sure, but some people, it will give them the option, they can only have a postcard mailed to them, and other people, it will let them make a phone call to whatever number you put on your listing. If that is available, save yourself a lot of time and hassle and do the phone call method. You can wait till after hours so that you know that when the phone call comes in, you'll be the one to get it. But it will be so much less headache than trying to navigate the postcard method. If you have to do the postcard method, it does eventually work, but you may just have to stick with it a few times. So this is kind of what you'll see. These are your options. You can either do it by phone, do it by postcard, or you can skip verification, which don't do that. Google listings do nothing without being verified. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. Google can be a little frustrating. There's nobody you can call that works for Google. They don't put their phone number out there. So it can be a little infuriating if you're not getting your postcard and they keep saying it was delivered. It does look very much like junk mail. So it's a good idea to alert your staff if you're expecting one. It just has a little numerical code on it. And so it can look a lot like those Google ad vouchers, and they might just be tossing it in the trash. So then we're going to update our listing. Now that we have it verified, we obviously want to be thorough. So making sure that your business hours are on there. How many of you have done a search for a restaurant and it says closed now, or, open until 11, or, delivery available? We want your information to be as thorough as possible so that on the initial reaction, when they're just taking a quick, instinctive look at what Google serves up to them, it's as thorough and easy as possible for them to get what they're looking for. So obviously contact information, website link, phone number, all of that, but also amenities and service area. So depending on what category you choose, Google may give you some additional options. So for example, if you're a restaurant, Google will give you a lot more fields you can fill out to tell people about your business. You can even put menu items and pictures of each menu item, and you can get really in detailed with it if you want. Other businesses, it's a lot simpler and it takes a lot less time. The photos are critical. Especially if you're in a business where what you do is a visual service or product. So for example, let's say that you sell piggy banks and that's all you do. Why would I buy my piggy bank from you and not just go to Amazon? Well, maybe these are like the best, most beautiful, amazing piggy banks I've ever seen, or maybe they're personalized or whatever the case is. And so having lots of photos that compel people to click on your listing is important. So pictures are very important, but also the pictures that go with, or the text that goes with those pictures is just as important, if not more. So a couple of little pro tip hacks for you here. Use captions on your photos when you upload them instead of just uploading them and having them be named, IMG_972 or whatever. I would recommend that you rename those images while they're still saved on your computer and name them with as many keywords as you can. So it might say, porcelain premium personalized piggy bank, Seattle, Washington, whatever. Put as many words as you can to help people find you, and then upload that file to your Google listing because the names of those images are just as important. So spend some time on your info section and be really thorough. Pay special attention to the section that's called services and the section that is called your description. Description's about 750 characters where you get to just give a little spiel about your business, tell people why you're different, tell people why they should shop with you, and don't use things like we have the best selection, the best prices. That's boring. Everybody says that. So be really specific. For example, if you're in the restaurant business, use really colorful adjectives that make people excited to taste your food. That we serve the most mouth-watering burgers in Great Bend. Don't just say we serve burgers. Be a little bit more colorful with the words that you choose. And if you don't know how to do that, there are people for that. So another pro tip, before you get into all of this and you're trying to write your description and you're like, well, how do I know what search terms to use so that I put those into my business description? This next screenshot, this is a good way to see what people are looking for, and you can see what phrases they use. So all I did to get this is I did a search for veterinarians, Great Bend, Kansas. I was trying to see kind of how AMC ranks on things. And if you scroll down to the very bottom of that first page, you will see Google basically gives you what you need to know what people are searching for. So this is other ways that people are searching for things related to the search that I did. So these are similar searches, and it gives you some good ideas. So instead of just searching veterinarian Great Bend, Kansas, some people search veterinary doctor, animal care hospital, veterinarians near me, dog boarding in Great Bend. So these are examples of things that help you know what people are searching for in your area. So now that we're updating your industry, I mentioned the extra tools. Each one may look a little bit different. This is an example for a restaurant. You'll have a whole menu section that other people obviously wouldn't have. Hopefully, Nels, we don't have a menu section on our veterinary listing. That would be interesting. Getting Google reviews on your business listing. This is probably the most important section. So if you forget everything else I said, that's fine. Just pay attention to this part. This is an interesting statistic, and I'm sure it really won't surprise this group because you guys obviously get it. You chose to come here and invest your time in this, so you are already above most people. But 82% of adults conduct research online before they make a purchase, and 45% of them read the reviews before they decide who to buy products from. I'm especially guilty of this if I'm on Amazon. And how many of you know you can tell when like a review isn't real even? And so modern consumers are getting really good at kind of weeding out fake reviews from real ones. They're getting good at saying, well, there's 600 reviews and only 3 of them are bad, so I won't really, I won't really count those people. So that's why quantity is a good idea. It's also good that you're not waiting for good reviews to come in, that you're actively seeking them, because the more and more that people get away from traditional media, these reviews and things like that are going to be even more important. So this is a piece of homework for you. I believe that I put that on the handout. If I did not, definitely write this down. But make sure you go Google and watch the YouTube video, Science of Persuasion. It's on YouTube. It's about 11 minutes long, and it is highly entertaining. It's a British whiteboard video, and so the guy talking, I could just listen to his voice just for fun, but also very good information. And this has 6 reasons that people are influenced to say yes to something. So whether it's fundraising or making a purchasing decision, or whether to give a referral or not give a referral, this is a great video. And what it does is it talks about these 6 things, and 2 of them are reciprocity and popularity. And these are the 2 principles that are, to me, Google listings play into the most. Reciprocity is the idea that if you do something for me, I feel obligated to do something back. And so with Google reviews, you can leverage that by saying, if you want to leave a quick Google review on this iPad here on the counter before you leave our business today, we'd be happy to take $10 off your bill. Well, heck yeah, I'm going to leave you a good Google review. You just gave me $10 off. So there's things you can incorporate into your checkout process, or maybe it's your closing process if you're a realtor, or maybe it's your follow-up process if you do business with people on an ongoing basis, to solicit reviews without a lot of effort that still might have high return of success. And then popularity. Obviously, we want to do business with people that are doing business with a lot of people we compare ourselves to. So if I'm moved to a community and I want to know where the best place to get my hair done is, I'm going to go do a Google search for hair salons and look at the one that has the most reviews, because obviously they're popular and they must be good at what they do. So it's all about looking legit. So unfortunately, Google doesn't care if you actually are legit. They just want to know what people think about you. So as long as you can convince a lot of people that you're legit, I guess that's what's more important for ranking. So your goal is to have more reviews and a more active listing than your competition. So like I said, quantity is important, but also you can even lead people into the review you want them to give you. So you can say, hey, Susie Joe, you have been a loyal customer of us forever. Would you leave us a Google review talking about how much you like our grooming services? And lead them into what you want them to say, so that you kind of get a mix of different types of reviews. Maybe. Okay, so the next thing is you want to make it easy. Asking people just, will you go leave us a Google review? Not all your customers will be as tech excited as others, and so you want to make things easy for them. I mentioned the iPad on the counter thing. That might sound like a big investment, but if you can get 100 more reviews a year than you're getting now, and you average the cost of the iPad out over those 100 reviews, that's $7 a review, and the value that brings to your company is massive. And so think about things like that. If you're a face-to-face business, that's probably the easiest way to do it. If you do business with customers via email, maybe it's when you send them an invoice, you say, hey, if you want to, before you pay this, if you want to give us a Google review, we'll put a $50 credit on it or something like that. It doesn't even have to be a significant amount necessarily. Or the other thing that I like to recommend is that I'm personally a sucker for Sonic limeades. I don't know how many of you like Sonic limeades. I'll do some weird stuff for a Sonic limeade. So I usually like to tell people, don't feel like you got to give away the moon. Maybe it's that, hey, if you leave us a Google review and you get a couple of your coworkers, we'll bring limeades for your whole department. And we'll make sure everybody knows that you are the one that got these limeades. People will be like, oh, heck yeah. So then the easy tool, this is definitely a link you're going to want to get, and we will email this out afterwards. But this is a really cool tool where you can get an easy-to-use link that pre-fills in a 5-star response when someone clicks on it. So this comes in handy if you email your customers, or if you want to do a social media push to get reviews. You can just say, click this link. When they click on it, it automatically pops up a window with pre-filled in 5 stars, so that all they have to do is type in the words to go with it. So making it, as least friction as possible to get what you're wanting. And then the other thing I mentioned, kind of framing their response. Having that pre-filled link is very helpful, but also choosing your wording carefully about how you ask for reviews. So instead of it being sort of an automated thing that just says, tell us how we did, just know that you're opening Pandora's box and you're going to get both the good and the bad. So instead, here's an example of what we did for a local optometry practice, just to kind of help them understand that, if there's a way we could help make your experience better, we'd love to hear from you, and we give the phone number. But if you were thrilled with your experience, take 15 seconds and click this link to leave us a Google review. It kind of leads them to believe that if it's negative, they should call. If it's positive, they can put that on Google, and that hopefully you eliminate a few of those negative reviews going on online. The other thing, people like to say yes. In that Science of Persuasion video, there's actually some cool statistics about how more likely people are. If you can get them to say yes to one thing, like, oh, did you have a good experience? And they say yes. Then you say, oh, well, that'd be great if you could leave us a Google review and tell us about that. They already told you yes once, and so now they feel much more likely to say yes to the second response. Use social media. On the next slide, I've got a couple examples of what we did for a couple clients. I'll show you in a second. And then make it an automatic part of your process. So it's going to look different for each of you. But like I said, it can be in person. It can be on your invoices where you remind people to do it. It can be in the signature of your email, on a thank you note that you send after your experience. General rule of thumb, if your customer transaction amounts are higher, I would invest a little bit more into the way that you ask for these reviews. If you're in a retail business where your average transaction is $20, $30, I wouldn't, maybe kind of put up some signs and do things like that. If you're in a business where each customer profits your business thousands of dollars, you need to be doing all these things. Send a thank you note, call them and personally thank them when they leave you the review, really solidify that relationship with them. So these are a couple examples. On your left, we did one where we just did a general request for one. There was no incentive tied to this or anything. On the right, we actually did a family movie night giveaway where everyone who left us a Google review in that specific month was entered in a drawing to win, and we got quite good results with that. This is an example of an email that we sent out for a client. And all we did was, they sell products on their website, so we already had lots of customer email addresses. We just sent out an email saying, tell us your stories. And with them, they're healthcare, and they have some specific restrictions about what they can and can't ask for. So theirs was a little bit more creative. But there's always a way to do it, and you don't have to make it hard or expensive necessarily. Another pro tip for you, there is a Google My Business app, and you can't do everything on the app that you can do from a web browser, but the thing that is nice on here is you can respond to reviews, and it's very simple, and it keeps you logged in. You don't have to worry about remembering to do it later, and it also pops up a notice right on your phone that says, hey, you got a Google review, and so if you've got 2 seconds, you can just respond to that right then, so there's no forgetting. You will get negative reviews at some point. If you're on Google, someone will be a hater, and they will leave you a Google review, and so don't pull a Taylor Swift and tell them to calm down if you've heard her latest song about her online haters. But what you do want to do is respond to that. And ideally, depending on your business, it's even okay to ask them, what can we do to earn a 5-star review? We would be happy to remedy this, and make sure that the other people who see that, whether that user ever responds or not, you want to try to work to get a hold of them. But if they don't, at least then other people see that you're responsive and that you're available and that you tried to fix the situation. Always respond. There's no pet peeve of mine bigger than seeing a company who has tons of Google reviews, and it's typically restaurants and bars and people that get a lot of quantity of ratings, but they don't respond to them. And I think they missed a really good opportunity, like what Martha was talking about, where they could have really solidified that relationship and created some loyalty if they had just taken a couple minutes to respond. So if you don't want to do this on the app, like I said, you can always set up a reminder on your calendar to do it once a month or once a week. The sooner the better, but once a month is better than never. So, all right, so creating posts. How many of you post things to your Google listings currently? Nobody. Well, shame on you guys. Put this on your list for Monday. So when you create a post for your listing, there's a few different kinds of things. And if you want to think of this similar to Facebook, Google is trying to be a little bit more social than they used to. Right now, listings expire after 7 days, and you can't boost them or promote them or anything like that currently. But I would imagine that Google's probably got something up their sleeve and that this may be going somewhere in the future. There's several different types of posts, but the most popular one are, can feature a product, you can invite people to an event, you can create an offer that's like a coupon, or you can just post something kind of like, here's what we're up to. Here's an example of one. This is just, you can upload a picture, you can put text with it. Again, you're creating more searchable content that's out there on your listing. And then the other thing that's interesting is, so this is a preview of what that same post looked like on their listing. So instead of now just seeing the logo at the top, if they're looking at this on a web browser, they actually can see a preview of that post. So it's another way to get something colorful that draws their attention to your listing. Maybe. Okay, here's another one, just a different business. This is for us. We were promoting a seminar that we did a while back. So managing your listing. Probably this is the thing that I feel like business owners struggle with the most. We're busy. We've got fires to put out. We've got big goals we're working on. Managing a Google listing can be an easy thing to just kind of let slip. And so the good news is it is not difficult. You can delegate this to someone on your team. Make sure they're well-spoken and they know how to spell would be a good idea. But other than that, the prerequisites are pretty low. So, obviously, again, the goal is to look good and stay active. And so putting someone in charge of responding to listing or to reviews, posting content, things like that is important. Posts do expire after 7 days, like I said, so weekly would be a good idea. But even if it's not, there's no real rule. It doesn't affect your algorithm a whole lot. So active is good, but if you don't get to it every week, don't freak out. Just post when you think of it. Respond to reviews right away, or weekly would be good. Create a clear delineation of responsibilities. So if it's your office manager, if it's your wife, if it's your marketing team, if it's you personally, whoever it is, make sure that everyone in your office knows, I'm on top of it, that's my job. Or Sue's on top of it, that's her job. So what about paid Google ads? How many of you do any Google AdWord campaigns or retargeting or anything like that? Oh man, you guys, so much potential in this room. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the details. We actually don't specialize in Google Ads. This is something we recommend. We work with other agencies that are better at this, but these are just a few types of things I would recommend that you go look into. AdWords is basically like casting a wide net so that if someone's looking for your services, you show up in the search results. Display advertising is like the little images that pop up all over every other website they're on. Retargeting is a way to, if they've been on your website before and then they left, you can kind of stalk them and make sure they see your ads on everywhere else they go until they come back. And then geofencing or geotargeting are a couple different ways that you could, so for example, today, we should have done this, Nels, I didn't think of it. We could have put a perimeter on a Google map and said, everybody that comes in this building today, I want to have their information, I want to follow them with some ads after this. So depending on what industry you're in, say you're an ice cream store and you want to know everybody that comes in your ice cream store, I'm going to send them a coupon later to come back. Geofencing is a great way to do that. So key takeaways. The biggest thing is obviously, again, look legit and stay active. You want to be better than your competitors. I gave a version of this here locally, and it was a lot more detailed. And I showed people some examples of, I had them throw out, name me a construction company that has been around forever that you would really trust. And people threw out names. And then I showed them the Google results, and they weren't even listed, because they don't prioritize their online presence. And so it doesn't matter if everybody knows you're there. At some point, those customers will die, and the new customers need to know that you're out there. So claim and verify your listing, enhance your listing with photos and searchable content. create a process to get those reviews coming in regularly and not just in big spurts once a year. Respond to the reviews, post to your Google listing, create that delineation of responsibilities, and then research what paid Google services might be right for your business. You can do this. It is not hard. We have taught ourselves everything that we know. There are people out there that do what we do if you do get stuck and you need help. But ultimately, get in there, dive in, and figure it out. It's really not that hard.